Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And today we're going to be doing another exciting segment of Ask the Alleycats, where all of you wonderful people submitted your questions on Twitter using hashtag Ask the Alleycats. In case you want to submit them, we'll do a backlog for the next episode. But yeah, we had a couple of questions, and I put in a couple of questions personally, just as like get to know you questions, just in case that, it's not like we don't have enough questions to go through, but just because I feel like that's something that can get kind of lost in podcasts is, you know who the hosts are, but you don't really get to know them that well. So that's why I put in a couple of like get to know you questions. So unless you have anything else to add.
I do not.
All right, let's get straight into the first question from Nathan Insero on Twitter, good friend of the show. He was the guest on episode 69, which is, of course, the episode we get 10,000 plays.
Momentous occasion.
Of course. But he asks, the women's basketball team has 2 scholarships to work with this offseason. What should they look for in the portal? That one to me was pretty easy. A backup to Ioka Lee, because as much as I love Taylor Lauterbach, like she's not it. She just does not have the coordination. And then another shooter to go along with Gabby, who's that girl we got from the transfer portal a couple days ago.
Yep. I also said a shooter. I think this team desperately needs a consistent outside shooter because the Glenn twins and Sundell at times showed an ability to be consistent outside shooters, but that didn't hold throughout the entire year. That was mainly earlier on.
Yeah.
Part of that's going to be just having a pretty shallow bench last year. They only had like 9 or 10 players available for most of the season.
Because Ranky was hurt.
Yeah, Ranky was hurt.
Not Simone. Heavenly Career.
Is like in the shadow realm.
In the shadow realm. I'm sending you to Tampa, Florida.
And then Savvy Simmons and Malene Lind Peterson were both injured as well. So the depth was lacking, especially among the guards. So, and then also with them being freshmen, there's going to be growing pains. But yeah. I think bringing in an experienced, lethal spot-up shooter would be great. And then I kind of went back and forth between a backup 5 and a 4. Because if Greer reaches eligibility, finally, then we'll have Heavenly Greer and then incoming Eliza Maupin, the freshman, next year. But there may also be a need for a transfer there just to help solidify the position. But then alternatively, it may be nice to have another backup for Ioka Lee, maybe somebody younger with some more potential, and somebody to develop into the successor for Ioka Lee. Yeah. I'm kind of undecided on that. I would lean towards getting a 4 just to shore it up, maybe a grad transfer 4, just to make the transition to college ball easier for Eliza Maupin and help ease Heavenly Greer back into playing college ball after taking a year in NCAA whatever.
Purgatory.
Yeah, NCAA purgatory. So that would be probably my pick is a 4 and then a shooter on the outside. Because we're getting several backup point guards in, I believe, with the new transfer for women's basketball. Plus, there are a couple of commits that are point guards as well. So that position should be fine going forward, especially with Sundell in control, but we'll see.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Nathan. The next 2 questions are from Alex Pogue or AS Pogue on Twitter. First question, if you got paid $5 million a year for any job at Kansas State, what would you pick? I have 2 answers. The first, and it all is contingent on the question of, is there potential for advancement? So, like, if there is, I would take offensive analyst for the football team and eventually work up to offensive coordinator. But we love living near the hospital. If there's no option for advancement and I just have to take it as I go, I just do independent film analysis for the football team.
Yeah. For me, I went with just taking Wyatt Thompson or Stan Weber's job. Like I would just follow the football and basketball team around and just like talk about how the game is going as it happens to the radio.
Yeah, so just a play-by-play guy.
Yeah, I'd literally either play-by-play or color. I would be fine with either of those. It was pretty simple for me. Like I thought about it for a while. I toyed with the idea of being the rowing coach, but so I thought that'd be fun. But
Fishing coach.
Yeah, the fishing coach as well. I was almost dead set on being the bass fishing coach. So I could win some natties and get some rings by telling some fishermen to try harder.
The Nick Saban of bass fishing.
I don't know what all goes into being a fishing coach. Try harder, pick your spots better, I guess. Like, get up earlier.
Be the fish.
Be the fish. But yeah, it would be either a play-by-play or color commentator for K-State.
See, the downside for taking either Wyatt or Stan's job would be that you'd have to be sunshine pretty much at all times.
Yeah, that is true. It would be unfortunate, but you know what? For a cool $5 million a year, I think I could live with it.
Yeah, that is true. The cool $5 million.
And I mean, I do that for a decade. I've got $50 million saved up. I can probably retire and then just start doing a podcast again. And honestly,
10-year hiatus.
Yeah, and honestly, I can do the podcast during it. Like Wyatt Thompson was on K-Man like 2 days ago.
Okay.
So I mean, like I could probably do the podcast.
No, just take the 10-year hiatus.
Sure. Okay. I mean, if you're gonna be the on the football staff, then you're not gonna be able to do the podcast anyways, because I don't think you'd be allowed to.
Oh, that's true. Well, I guess you and Scott would form together to form the Aggieville Bosco's Boys.
The Aggieville Boys. The Bosco's Alleycats.
Aggieville Bosco Cats.
Aggieville Bosco Cats. All right, yeah.
ABC.
Bosco Cats. That's kind of paradoxical, right?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's a bit off track. I just went Aggieville Bosco's Cats because ABC.
Oh, I see. And B&A.
All right.
Moving
on. Next question from Alex Pogue is, how many losing seasons will you give Coach Tang before you want to start a new coaching search? And while I will say that it is a tad bit premature to call like losing seasons, I know that's not the point of the question. I think you and I are both in agreement that he gets a mulligan for this upcoming year because we have no one left on the team.
Yeah. I think it's fair to give him some cushion for this year. We should be getting good guys in the portal, and we shouldn't be in single-digit wins. But like, it is going to be a difficult season for all parties. When you have 3 people on the roster, it's going to be rough. And like, you have to recruit against a lot of really good schools, and for those high-level transfer portal guys. And that's not to say we won't get some, which I think that we'll be able to get a few guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a very volatile season depending on how this offseason goes. And nobody really knows how it's going to go. It's been like 10 days since he was hired. So if you think that you don't.
God, it's so weird to think that it's only been like 10 days.
Yeah, it feels like an eternity because it's only been transfers out and we've just been waiting and waiting for someone to commit. And I just have to keep reminding myself that it's really not been long at all.
We don't even have the full staff yet.
Yeah. It's probably going to be another 2 weeks before we get any of that even close to finalized. Because, we don't have support staffers in place other than Marco Bourne. So, we're kind of going a bit off the rails of the question here. But
I feel like it's relevant to the question.
You think so?
Yeah, because we have to justify our position.
Yeah.
Which is us giving him basically a mulligan first year. So after that first year, I would give him, if it's consecutive, I would give him 3 losing seasons. If it weren't consecutive, I would probably give him like 4.
Yeah. I struggled with this one because on one hand I was like, it is a tough situation he's coming into, and I don't want to set unrealistic expectations, but at the same time I also enjoy winning and not losing at a historic rate. And
I enjoy not losing.
Yeah.
Controversial takes on the Aggieville Alleycats. Losing sucks.
So I definitely think this first year, it could be anything. I mean, Iowa State went to a Sweet 16, but they're kind of an exception to the rule.
Mickey Mouse schedule.
Kind of, yeah. Like actually, they got pretty lucky with their draws in the NCAA tournament, and they had a really rough Big 12 slate, and they just turned it on in non-con. I don't know what it was in non-conference, but they were just a different beast. I mean, we beat that team on the road this year.
And then.
But anywho, I think I went back and forth on it a bit, but the thing I kept coming back to was that if he had 4 straight losing seasons, that would mean that K-State would have 7 straight losing seasons, going back to the Bruce Weber era. And that's a lot. It's
a lot.
So, I would conditionally give him 4 if by the end of year 3 we were significantly improved and noticeably playing better basketball.
So if we have a conscious big.
Yeah, basically. And then I would do 3 if we see no improvement and just continually get worse, because 3 isn't a long time, but especially in basketball, it is getting easier to rebuild programs, relatively speaking, at least in terms of getting new people in.
Yeah.
That doesn't speak to getting quality players, because that's still not easy, but transfers are eligible immediately in almost every scenario. So I'm hoping that by year 2, this is going to be at least a bubble team.
Yeah.
If not even this year, which it just depends on the quality of player that we get in the portal and if we're able to get anybody in the class of 22. But right now, I try not to set expectations because we just don't know. It's far too early to set any major expectations, especially when we're probably have a lot of young guys playing really big roles next year. There's not a lot of returning guys, and even those returning guys are going to be learning new systems. So it's going to be volatile for a little while. But if we want to succeed, the blueprint is Iowa State. So
yeah, and I'm not sure I have. Tang as a coach is unproven, so I'm not sure if he can. And I mean unproven as a head coach, so I'm not sure if he is the type of guy that could take like a collection of basically scrambling to find anybody that will play and then make them serviceable. I don't know that he can do that. I'll be happy.
Yeah.
If he does, I mean, that'd be awesome.
I would be happy if that happened.
But, you don't know. So I'd give him 4 seasons if it's not consecutive, and then 3 if it is. And we're both giving him that mulligan first year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's like just awful.
Unless it's like a single-digit win season.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm talking like if we have like an Iowa State 2020 season, like that counts against him. Especially if there's like a lot of turmoil like within, and like it's just looking bad, like the players aren't trying, and like there's clearly like a lot of turmoil in Bramlage.
Yeah, because say what you will about Bruce Weber teams, they were trying.
They were, which in some ways makes it worse.
Yeah.
In others it is nice, it's admirable, but yikes. Anyway.
Yeah. So thank you for the questions, Alex. The next is a collection of questions from good friend of the show, Scott Wildcat. First question, if I recall correctly, at least one of you is graduating undergrad and going to law school. Will the pod continue on in its current state for another year? The answer to that question is yes. It is Connor that is moving on this year. I'm following him. I'm just a year younger than he is. So we'll both be graduating undergrad within the year. Connor within like a month and a half?
A month and a week.
A month and a week.
Yep.
It's nuts to think about, huh?
I don't like it.
I don't like it. But yeah, then I will be graduating a year, a month and a week. Or a year, month, and 2 weeks or something. But
around there.
Yeah, we're both graduating, going to law school. I don't know where I'm going yet. He's going to Washburn. I'll probably end up going to Washburn just because, I want to stay in Kansas.
It's a good school.
Yeah.
Really good school.
But
as for the pod staying in its current state, that is the plan. I think we both want that to happen. However, there's also going to probably be, just realistically speaking, like times where I'm just not able to come on the show, like next year. And
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh
no. I know what you're thinking, but I'm reading your mind right now. But that's probably going to be limited. I will make time for the podcast.
Because that's kind of what you do now.
Yeah.
That's kind of what both of us do now.
Yeah, I make time for it, right? For it already. I've been making time for it, especially in the fall when we were doing 3 episodes a week. That was
fun.
That was a lot. And I definitely had to squeeze it in sometimes. But the plan is to keep it in its current state next year, and then it may even get easier the following year when we both just like have like relatively similar schedules. But then after that, it's anybody's guess, because I mean, for one, that's a really long time away.
Yeah,
and
that's 2 years.
And the other is just that we're gonna be like adults, and we do not know what that's like yet. So
no. I mean, we have a taste of it.
Yeah, we have a
we're
taste.
Like half adults.
Yeah, we're currently man children. So
all right.
We're just like children with facial hair, pretty much.
So a high schooler.
I had my beard my senior year of high school, so
I think I started growing my facial hair sophomore year. But yeah, the plan is continue the pod until we can't anymore, basically.
Yeah. And that day is a long way away, I think.
Yeah.
And even then, it may even just be a decrease in frequency, because I thoroughly enjoy doing the podcast.
No, I hate it.
Yeah. The day that I the day that I don't enjoy, I'm just gonna ignore you. The day that I am not enjoying it will be when I start to consider not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Next question, also from Scott Wildcat. As someone who knows how hard it is to be consistent recording in season and off season, what has been the toughest aspect of that consistency? Well, the first thing is when one of us, me, has to leave for weeks at a time.
Yeah. And yeah, it's definitely just the volatile schedules, because this semester has been better, I think, because there's been less recording, and I feel like we've generally been not as busy. I'm taking 6 credits right now. The only conflicts I really ever have are if I have an exam or if I have work, and generally I'm able to record on same day. But the fall was all over the place, because we had all sorts of stuff going on.
Nightmare.
It was very hectic during football season, but off-season recording,
we weren't doing anything. We'd record at 2 a.m.
Yeah. We were recording at most random times. Off-season is a weird time. Luckily, right after we start, well, not luckily, it still was awful, but to keep us consistent was realignment.
Realignment saved the show.
Probably a month and a half after we started. I mean, the biggest sports news for K-State in a decade just dropped out of nowhere a week and a half after our joke episode about realignment.
Yep.
And then we had that to carry us pretty much to the open practice in August. And that carried us to the season. And then from there, it was just smooth sailing. But at this point, we're in enough of a groove. And we also kind of found a knack for covering some non-revenue sports as well.
Yeah.
We're big Backcats guys over here. And we also did a ton of coverage of women's basketball. And then we talked a lot of men's basketball, even when it hurt. And
which was a lot.
it was a lot. It hurt.
It was
a lot.
always
Never-ending pain.
agony, even.
One could say. But it was, I don't know, consistency hasn't, it's like you said, it's really just been, like, lack of availability due to unforeseen circumstances, like Ace being not here for a week.
Like 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's the most difficult has been the volatility of schedule, because I don't think we've recorded an episode, except for one, that we didn't really want to record. And the one that I'm thinking of, I think was episode like 10, where the first time we recorded it, we talked for 2 hours and then the audio was completely unusable, so we had to start over. Because that was the episode that I ended up staying up until like 4:30 in the morning editing the audio.
Oh.
I know it wasn't the owl episode, which, by the way, I still love the owl story. No one remembers it. And like we've picked up a lot of people since then. But for the long and short of it, for the new listeners that don't know, I got bit by an owl this summer. Don't do it. It hurts really bad. It hurts really, really bad. But yeah, there was an episode.
It was early.
It was very early. I want to say it's episode 10. I know it's in the first 10. Because like there was just an episode we recorded. The audio was completely unusable.
It was awful. We had a lot of audio issues early on just because we
had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah. That's we'll leave it at that. And it was definitely difficult. But I mean, like we were able to get through it. I got a new mic. A lot of the issues was just my mic was bad. It was really, really bad. So.
But yeah, I'd say that was the only episode that we haven't ever wanted to do, which was because we stayed up. We started recording the second time after recording for an hour already. We'd started recording the episode at like 3 a.m. We're both tired. We sound dead the entire episode.
Yeah. Because this was back in the summer when we were doing all the recording remotely, because I was up in Manhattan doing an internship, and Ace was not in Manhattan.
I was down in back home.
Yeah, you were back home. And so we basically would just hop on a call to record, and then we would just talk for 3 hours, and then we do the episode. And in this case, we doubled the amount of episode time that we had just because the audio was just horrid. And I'm happy at least we noticed. But then we had to do it again. And let me tell you, it is dull saying the same thing that you just said an hour ago and like having to like act like you're saying it for the first time.
I think we mentioned or like hint that that's the second time we recorded it. But
I don't remember what episode it was, but it was definitely early on.
Yeah. But going back to the core question, the toughest aspect of the consistency has never been not wanting to do an episode. Because I don't think there's been an episode where we haven't at least tried.
Yeah.
Even if we were bad at it, we always tried.
Yeah. Even the track and field, we tried.
We tried and then abandoned that idea, and we're not going back to it.
They're going to need to win the Big 12 before we talk about them again.
So, thank you for that. Next question. What is your most downloaded show of all time? Iowa State recap.
Yep. We have a top 5. I can just read the top 5.
Yeah.
We have Iowa State recap, and then like a very big gap. The Iowa State recap just kind of blew up for no reason.
Yeah, it's because Iowa State fans got angry.
They did. That is actually it.
That's why.
Yeah. Then Oklahoma State preview, Iowa State preview, Nevada recap, and LSU recap. So you're noticing a theme.
It's all recaps.
Always
has been.
Pretty much all recaps, except the Oklahoma State one. I think that's because we were 3-0 and like riding this wave.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow, like we're the greatest team on earth. And then we got smacked by Oklahoma State. which, granted, at the time, we didn't know how good they were because they had a very suspect non-conference schedule where they nearly lost to Tulsa. And then they just steamrolled the entire Big 12.
Yep.
Could not have predicted that.
They almost lost to, I think it was Central Missouri.
Yeah. It
was coached by Bobby Petrino.
Yeah, it was really, really weird non-conference slate for Oklahoma State. And then we just got to them and Will Howard gets hurt. Like, people still blame that game on Will, and I don't get it at
We,
all.
you know my opinion on.
Yeah. The saddest part of that game is Will Howard on that first drive was dropping dimes, and our receivers simply refused to catch them.
Yeah, he was dropping dimes, but the receivers were
Yeah.
dropping the dimes.
That game was probably the most sad I've been about the state of the receiver room in the entire Kleiman era, and 2020 was 2020
Yep.
with the receiver room. But that game was rough. After that, they just flipped a switch and like got okay.
They got. I thought you were about to say they got good. I'm like, Connor.
No, they didn't get good. They got serviceable.
They did all right.
Which
They
is
started
that's all
passing.
we needed. But yeah, the defense was terrible in the first half of that game. That was the first game post Khalid Duke injury as well.
Yes.
That was a rough game. I haven't thought about this game in a while. Probably for good reason. It was rough.
I only think about one thing of this episode, and it's still my favorite moment of the show.
Yeah.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's let's just say I had a rant in the middle of the episode that I still quote to this day. But yeah, most downloaded show would be the Iowa State recap. The most downloaded outside of a recap or a preview, I think, is the open practice.
That sounds right. I remember that one did numbers. That's what I remember about that one. Like, because we both thought it was really strange. Cause open practice allegedly is the best performing non-recap.
Okay.
From what I can tell. Yeah, that looks right.
All right.
And, there's another open practice coming up here pretty soon, so we'll see if we can repeat that performance. I am very excited for that.
I am as well. I get to see if Will Howard fixed his footwork.
Based on the videos the football team has been putting out, I was looking at his footwork, and I think he has.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I think that he did. Like, I was looking specifically at his footwork in the last couple, and I think that he isn't pigeon-toeing. At the very least, in the clips they put out, he wasn't pigeon-toeing, and he made some good throws. They put out another video today. I need to look at it.
Okay. We're doing film analysis to
We're doing highlight tape film analysis for this season.
Oh boy. Yeah, that only ends beautifully. But okay, the next question. What is your most this is split into two. What is your most controversial opinion related to K-State? And this is from Scott Wildcat. And his is that the Power Cat isn't a great logo. That take is going to upset a lot of people. My take is going to upset even more people. What do you want to go first?
No, you go first. I want them to hear yours.
The white cat script helmet for football. The white helmet with the purple cat script.
Yeah.
It's overrated. It is mid. It is just so plain and so boring. Just, oh wow, let's put a white helmet and then just have cats and script. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. And you know what I honestly think it would be better if the color scheme was reversed. If it was the purple helmet with white script. Because I don't think we have purple helmets. I know we have the silver.
We haven't had purple helmets in decades.
Yeah, like I
think we had them in like the early 80s maybe for a little bit, but that's it.
Yeah, like I think that would just look better. I'm not saying that it looks awful. I'm not saying that every single time I see us wearing the white script, I'm like, okay, this is awful. It's just mid. It's okay. It's not insane like everyone says it is.
I like cat script because mainly as a K-State fan, because we've been starved from alternate uniforms for so long.
Oh, you're not Oregon where you have every uniform is an alternate uniform?
Correct. But I remember seeing them for the first time. I absolutely loved them. And like, I don't think I love them as much as some others. Like, I think that both baseball and basketball, all of their alternates have been better than
I want a lavender football jersey. I want a lavender football jersey.
Do you mean like lavender trim or like a solid lavender?
Solid lavender.
I'm skeptical of how that would turn out on the field. I'm curious, but I don't know if I'm curious enough to just put it out there. Like,
Mike Stanley,
Mike,
we need you.
Mike, we have a task. We have a job for you, Mike.
I think he may have actually done it before.
I feel like he has, and I remember like liking them, but I don't know if Nike would like make them good.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's fair.
Like Nike generally makes good football uniforms, but at least with our standard basketball ones, they kind of missed. Like I think our standard basketball uniforms are not that great. That's not my controversial take. I think that's like
that is a kind of a zinger. That's kind of spicy one though.
Yeah, I think our alternates are phenomenal. Our cat script and our lavenders and our two tones are phenomenal. I think I love all of them, but I think that like the standard whites and the standard purples and the standard blacks are not that good.
Ooh, the blacks.
I don't love them. I don't like the shorts. I don't like the shorts at all. I think the tops are fine. Like the tops are okay, but the shorts are not good. I don't think. I miss the Pullen era of jerseys, like the late Pullen era. That would have been whites, purples, and blacks with like the solid front, and there was like some striping on the back. And the shorts were pretty nice. And then they also introduced the big game grays back then as well. And we got rid of those like 3 years ago, I think. I kind of miss the big game grays a little bit. People always hated on them. I kind of like the big game grays. I grew up on them because when I was little, I didn't know what a big game was. Like I just sat down and watched a game and it started. But if they wore the big game grays, I was just like, oh, this must be important. But yeah.
Yes. What is your controversial K-State take?
My controversial take with people my age is probably isn't that controversial because I just don't think that they care.
Yeah.
But this might be controversial with our older audience is that I think that our Hearn needs to be demolished immediately. I think it's just 30 years ago it was a nice building. But it's been 30 years since they've done anything to it. It's kind of a dump. It's really old and they haven't updated it at all.
I haven't been inside it.
There's no AC.
In Kansas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no.
So I've only been in it like twice. And once was for a Frank Martin basketball camp. We were in there for a bit and it was really hot. Really, really hot. And then the other time, I think I might have gone to a volleyball. No, I never went to a volleyball game there, which I will say I regret. I regret not going to a volleyball game there because I think it would have been really cool. But it's a really old game, or venue, I should say. And it really should just be demolished and the space should be utilized better because there's not really anything the university can do with it right now. Athletics isn't going to do anything with it, that's for sure. And I remember hearing that it would be more expensive to renovate it to get up to modern like HVAC ventilation and ADA standards than it would be to just tear down the building and build a new one, which I kind of believe because it's got really old bones. There's not a lot to do with the indoor space right now, unless you turn it into like a general classroom building that people just sit there and sweat. And
so Eisenhower?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So Eisenhower.
Which Eisenhower also needs to be demolished.
For many reasons.
Yeah, the asbestos in the ceiling. Yeah, you're not allowed to drag chairs in Eisenhower because it loosens the asbestos in the ceiling.
Fun fact
about Eisenhower Hall at K-State.
Your time is limited.
Yeah. Makes me grateful I have class on the second floor there this semester, so I don't get the asbestos on the chairs drag.
I haven't had a class in Eisenhower since my sophomore year.
I've had a lot of classes there. I had 4 French classes in Eisenhower, and I have an English class there this semester. I might have had one more. I don't recall. Anywho.
Yeah.
Ahern should be torn down and turned into some sort of academic building. The space should. Or they should do something else with it. I don't know.
The volleyball arena there. Put a parking lot there.
They're building a volleyball arena right now.
Put another one there.
You know what?
Build a softball field right there. Build a wrestling part right there.
K-State should get a wrestling team. That's not controversial, I don't think.
Both softball and... That's not controversial. They need a softball and a wrestling team. Me and Gene, if we ever get you on the show, the first thing that we're going to ask is like, all right, so when's the wrestling team?
Wrestling especially. Softball, I think they would probably have to build a separate park than Toynton.
Well, yeah, they would.
Yeah, but wrestling is like not an expensive sport.
No, you need mats.
Yeah, you need mats and a gym. So you could do it in Bramlage, or if you really wanted, you could probably do it in the new volleyball arena.
Yeah, if you're worried about like seating.
Yeah, that'd be a more intimate spot. It's going to be retractable bleachers in there, I think.
Yeah, so that's probably where they put it.
So do it there. Just like add on more locker rooms for wrestling people.
Boom. There we go. We've solved it.
I will donate $20 to this cause.
I'll match it.
Gene, if you're listening,
you got $40.
You got $40 for this wrestling squad. Keep Kansas wrestlers home.
Because there are a lot of really good ones.
There are. There's a ton of homegrown wrestling prowess in this state. Imagine the dual sport athlete that Gavin Myers could be as a walk-on football player and wrestler. Or Gavin Hasselhorst. A lot of Gavins from Hayes America are on the football team. Our Gavins from Hayes America per capita is off the charts.
All right. Next question is the second half from Scott Wildcat. What is your most controversial opinion not related to K-State? Mine is that standard time is better than daylight savings time.
That was Scott's.
Yeah, that's Scott. That's Scott. That's fair. I'd say I have several controversial opinions, but the one we share is boneless wings superior, but we're not going to get into that because the last time we tried it, we got canceled on Twitter. We've been canceled like 3 times.
It's only been for that reason, too.
It's only been for that. Like, we haven't said anything stupid. We've just said that we like boneless wings.
That's it.
And then, unfortunately, some crimes are unforgivable.
Yeah.
But I'd say my most controversial take is seafood blows and Tom Brady is not the greatest quarterback of all time, at least in terms of talent.
Yeah. I disagree with your seafood take. I think seafood is good if you're near a body of water, but I don't trust seafood if I'm like outside of like a certain radius. Yeah, like I'm not exactly like chomping at the bit to go to Red Lobster in like Joplin, Missouri, but I will say I did go to Maine one summer and I had some halibut and it was phenomenal. It was really good. I discovered I like halibut and it was phenomenal. It was like a little shack by the beach, and it was really good. Maine's also pretty. Portland, Maine's a cool city, and there's also a lot of trees in northern Maine. Like, there's not a lot of people. It's mainly just trees.
Mainly.
Just
trees.
Mainly just trees.
Any
whomst. But, yeah, then the wings opinion, of course. I shared that with you. And I agree with your Tom Brady take. I don't think he's the most talented QB of all time. I don't think it's close either. Like, I think we talked about this before. It's either Dan Marino or Aaron Rodgers at this point in time. It could be Patrick Mahomes if he continues his trajectory, which at this point there's no reason to think he won't.
Yeah, because every single time that we've said, like, oh, there's no way, like, he'll slow down eventually, he said, okay, and then proceeded to just, like, be himself.
Yeah. And I will say, I honestly forgot what I said I was going to say for this part, because this was a hard question. Trains, yes. I said that society would be better off if in, like, the late 1800s we collectively decided that trains were a better mode of transportation than cars. I really enjoy driving. I like the freedom it brings, but it probably would have been better in general if we had just agreed on trains as, like, a civilization. Mainly because I feel like they're just a more efficient mode of transportation. However, there are constraints, like there's lack of freedom and stuff. But I would propose that we develop trains more. Passenger trains are cool, I would say. Yes, I'm a train guy, I guess. I don't know trains, but I think trains are neat. So I don't know if that's that controversial, but I don't know. Trains over cars, probably, but that's also totally unrealistic. And I also like being able to drive where I want when I want. So there is that aspect. So I understand the car over train thing. I know that KC's putting in some sort of like train system in downtown. It's costing them like an unbelievable amount of money. I saw it a couple days ago. It was like,
of course,
it was like 3.5 mile line, and it was like $300 million or something like that, which is a lot.
Okay.
I don't know why a train is so expensive. Maybe they're building Union Station 2, but
Electric Boogaloo.
I guess so. But yeah, that was the hardest question by far. Was the controversial K-State opinion and controversial opinion not related to K-State? We probably spent like 20 minutes thinking about the answer for that.
I spent a half hour.
Yeah, I couldn't think of my controversial K-State opinion, like, because most of my opinions like aren't
are mild.
Yeah, like I have some that maybe have a little pepper in them, but they're not exactly like seasoned spicy takes. they're just like eyebrow raisers. They're like, oh, but it's nothing like crazy or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything like cat script being bad. Like that's something that could get you attacked, but not physically, but
hopefully. He's going to be drinking at Tanner's, and someone's going to be drinking my Jim Beam Peach Cooler, which is awesome, by the way. Not sponsored, but someone's going to glass me. It's like, you don't like the script. Like, okay. Next question from Scott Wildcat. What is the third favorite sport among current K-State students? Back when I was in school, and volleyball still played in the Hearn, there were tons of games where students had to go to the upper level. Right now, I'd say the third most popular sport is probably women's basketball, followed closely by the Bad Cats.
Yeah.
It's not soccer. It is not soccer.
They did get really good attendance for the opening soccer game, because I think they got a lot of people in the dorms that just moved in to go.
Yep.
But I remember the game that we went to, we were the only students there.
We went to three. We went to 3 soccer games. First one, there were 3 other people who were drunk. Like, gone drunk. Then the next 2, it was only us.
Yeah. And that one that we went to, I think it was Texas.
Yes.
Where it was really embarrassing because their defensive back line was like faster than like our attacking strikers and forwards. And it's like, okay. Yep. Well, it actually tracks, but
yeah, it tracks, but it still sucks.
And it was also like kind of raining. It was really windy and it was cold, and we were the only students there. And that was it. But Bad Cats is growing in popularity right now. I think people just like the idea of a free baseball game when the weather's nice. Yeah. I think that's the main thing.
Problem is the weather has been pretty bad.
Yeah, there's been like some spot days where it's been good. Like last Saturday was pretty nice for a baseball game. And there's been a couple other days, but it's been pretty spotty. But now that we're getting into April, it should be getting a little nicer. Allegedly. We say that today, it's like 50 degrees and like million mile per hour winds. But we Bad Cats, we're big Bad Cats fans. The women's basketball probably is the pick, I would say, based on especially just the season Aoka Lee had, because after there was a pretty concerted effort to get people to women's basketball games. I felt like from the athletic department,
also us,
and especially after Aoka Lee had her big game, a lot of people started going, especially more than usual. I mean, by the end of the season, they were almost getting more people at the games than the men's team was, and which isn't common. They deserved it. I felt like they were a young team.
Absolutely did.
Yeah, just kind of struggled down the stretch, but I mean, even then, they still had a really great season. I felt so. 20 wins in an NCAA tournament when they don't grow on trees. So.
Yep. The last question from Scott Wildcat. Are you two getting me anything for Father's Day? Maybe. If we get you anything, it'll be from our merch store, and it'll probably be like a Doom Tank Clan shirt.
Maybe.
Or original Alley. Did we get him an original Alleycat shirt? I think he's one of like 2 people on Earth in possession of one, because I don't have one.
I don't either. Oops.
I think it's your grandmother and him.
No, my grandmother might have every piece of merchandise that has ever been made.
We stand Connor's grandma.
Yeah, my grandma bought a lot of merch. She's
single-handedly financing Aggieville Alleycats.
Pretty much. She also sends me texts about every episode and listens to every episode. So I know you're listening right now, Grandma. So thank you for listening. But
love you, Grandma.
Love you, Grandma. Wait, that's not your grandma.
Anyway. The next set of questions are from Ethan Brown, another friend of the show. First question. The crystal ball for Avery was only a 4. How many visits does he have left, and when is he projected to commit? I think he has 1 official left here that he can use. And when he's expected to commit, the rumor is before, like, summer. But the rumor has been before winter before. So
yeah. The Avery's recruitment has perpetually been one that's been in a state of he should be ready to commit in like 2 months, and that's been the case for a while now. Yeah. I'm not holding my breath on him committing, but again, it's recruitment, and recruitments can change at any point. Like, someone could just come in and offer and change everything, or a recruit can just change their mind on something out of nowhere.
Yep.
You never really know. So, if I had to make a prediction, I would say July. Yeah. June or July.
I'd say June.
And I think that's a fair guess.
I think him and I guess you can consider this a hot take. I think him and Dylan commit within 2 weeks of each other.
I think that's probably fair. I feel like Dylan's recruitment is going to naturally wrap up here pretty soon anyways, because he's not growing his offer sheet anymore, and it's pretty clearly become a K-State versus OU battle, and it's going to be one of those 2 schools. And
shout out to us being doomers whenever he got the OU offers. Like, well, bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
I mean, yeah, it felt like a death nail in that moment, but he just hasn't committed to OU, which has been very surprising. I kind of seemed like he would, but he hasn't.
I'm not complaining.
No, I'm not either. I want him, but if it comes down to it, I feel like I might still lean slightly towards OU, but that might be generous. So, and again, I'm just using my gut. I don't have any inside connection to Dylan or anything, but I feel like, yeah, I think that's a decent assertion that they'll commit pretty close to each other. They both seem like people that want to have it wrapped up before their senior football season starts, so they just don't have the distraction.
Yeah. Especially
because they both have pretty high-profile recruitments. So if I were Avery, I would not want my recruitment on my mind when he's making a state title run, because I think they lost in the title last year.
Yeah, to Derby.
Yeah, it was to Derby?
I think so.
I thought they were different classes.
Wait. I don't know.
Oh, well. Anywho.
I don't know.
Well, they couldn't have played in the final because they're both West.
Yeah, right. My bad.
I think. Who's to say?
I know they did play each other this year. I'm not sure if it was in the playoffs or not.
Regardless, Avery did lose in his state title game. Mm-hmm. But I'm not too concerned, going back to the crystal ball, I'm not that concerned about the confidence level only being a 4, because to make a crystal ball prediction, you have to feel pretty good about a recruitment to make that happen. Now, some of those are ill-advised. Caleb Purdy had like a crystal ball to K-State last year at like a level 6 out of 10 for a while. Yeah. And he ended up going to KU because K-State wasn't recruiting him. like
we said no.
Yeah. He just had that crystal ball sitting there. But Avery, especially is relevant in higher profile recruitments, basically 24/7 top 250 recruits and up. Avery's like 150. So there's a lot of people paying attention to where he goes. So it's any prediction at all is a big deal. if K-State can get Avery Johnson, it's a bigger win than Jake Rubley, I would say.
Absolutely.
Because the Rubley recruitment came out of nowhere, I will say. So there wasn't really even time for it to be a battle, it felt like. Avery has been a pretty constant battle for quite some time at this point. So I would be elated if we got Avery Johnson. So which seems to be trending that way, at least as of today. That's subject to change at any moment. But we'll see.
Who's to say?
Yeah, early summer, maybe.
Yeah. Next question. Which opposing player did you fear the most in either football, basketball, or track and field? If you're talking about that we've personally played, there was a 6'4", like 330-pound guard from, I think it was Derby, that we played during a game my senior year of high school, who I'm 5'9", 220 at this time. 5'9 and a half, thank you. And he just picked me up and threw me, and then pointed at me and laughed like, and I'm just like, as the wind tries to knock down my apartment. That's probably the most scared I've ever been on the football field of someone I've played against, because this guy is significantly taller than I am and just threw me. In terms of the K-State has played, probably Xavier Worthy for me.
For people that I played against, there was a guy that played for Columbus, Kansas, and we faced him when I was in 7th and 8th grade. I forget his name, but the rumors about him were that he had been held back 2 years. So he was supposed to be a freshman in high school. I would have believed it. He was bigger than everyone on our team and his team. And he played running back. And he was fast and really strong and just could not be tackled. And he was just a pain. The only thing going against him was that he had no stamina. If he could get maybe 2 runs out, and then he'd have to like hobble to the sideline because he could like barely breathe.
Yeah.
So that's the only one that I ever really feared. I was generally one of the bigger people on all the teams I was on, so there weren't many people that I like genuinely feared. There were people that like made me nervous, like Frontenac, Kansas. They had a really big guard that he probably had like 70 pounds on me in 7th grade, and I was a big kid in 7th grade. And again, his big drawback was stamina. He could only play, he couldn't play back-to-back series. Like, so we saw him the opening series, and then he disappeared, and then he came back, and then he was gone again. So that's how it went. So we knew that like every other series we had a shot at a 3-and-out. Other than that, he would literally just move individuals by sheer mass. Like, there wasn't much I could do. Even if I got past him, his gravity would pull me back to him. So it was that was a tough matchup, I would say. But for K-State, probably Ochai Agbaji.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
He frightened me, truly, going into the K-State KU game this year, more than any other KU player has. Even Azubuike, I wasn't as worried about as I was Ochai Agbaji, I would say. And I don't think it's particularly close.
No.
Football, I couldn't even begin to think. Maybe CeeDee Lamb, my sophomore year, which he did get one big run against us, or the one big catch. Yeah. But other than that, he didn't do a ton that game.
Well, Jalen Hurts was his quarterback.
Yeah, he did have 400 yards that game, but he also threw a near pick 6, and he wasn't Skylar Thompson that day, so
unlucky.
It could happen to anybody.
If Jalen Hurts can go in the 2nd round, Skylar Thompson can get drafted. But next question: how likely is it that Rubley solidifies himself as QB2? It's not happening this year.
I would be shocked
because QB2 is Will Howard this year.
Yeah.
The only way Rubley moves up to QB2 is if, God forbid, Martinez gets hurt and Howard has to start the 3rd straight year.
Yeah. And even then, it's probably a 2A, 2B with Jaron Lewis. I mean, Jared may even be ahead of him just by sheer experience, which is frightening. But I would be shocked if Rubley is QB2 this year. It would require some QB dominoes to fall and be injured. Honestly, it might require Adrian and Will Howard to be hurt for him to be QB2. And even then, there is a non-zero chance we'd see Adrian Lara first.
I forgot he's on campus. He's not on campus, but he's committed.
Yeah.
I forgot he was the QB of this class.
Yeah, I kind of do sometimes as well. He's been one of the least publicized QBs, I feel like, to commit to K-State recently. But he Rubley has a long way to go from what we can tell. But, that's not to say he's a lost cause. That's just to say that he's very young.
And lost out on his senior year.
Yeah, he lost pretty much an entire season of high school football to COVID, and a lot of time in fall camp to injury. So it's going to be a while before Rubley's ready. He's still cooking in the oven. I would say to be patient and give him some time, but near 0% chance he's QB2 this year, I'd say.
Yeah. All right, so that's the end of the questions that were submitted to us. Now we're going to start doing just the more casual get to know you questions, which are just questions that I wrote because, I thought it'd be fun. First question, if money weren't an issue, what would you do for a living? We already answered this, kind of. My answer does not change. I'd be an independent film analyst.
My answer kind of changes, in which I would just do this podcast a lot more.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I would go, and honestly, I would, if it were a possibility, I would still do play-by-play or color commentary, but money's not an issue, so I might just not.
Yeah. Next question: if you had 3 wishes, what would they be? You can't wish for more.
Would you like me to go first?
Yes. Well, I can if you want me to.
You go first.
Okay. First thing is I would make a list and then say, grant this list. Then I would donate the rest of the 2. But if I had to just designate it to 3 things. First, have the ability to speak every language, speak, write, and read every language fluently. Second, I would lock my bank account to $1 million to where I can spend that money, but it never goes below $1 million. Third and finally is I would get a character edit menu, so I could just edit people on the football team to be 99 overall.
That would be pretty fun.
Also make myself 6'7" or something.
3 wishes for me. Those questions like these always trip me up, and I end up giving very realistic and not outlandish answers.
Yeah.
I'm I'll be I wish I had some nice shoes or something like that.
I love my white shoes.
But I don't know. I like your bank account one because it's not just infinite money, but it kind of is. I would probably roll with that. Then, other than that, I would probably say perfect vision. I haven't had perfect vision since I was 3.
I'm basically blind without my glasses, so
I am what they call legally blind without my contacts, because I think the legal definition of blindness, legal, is the if you can't see clearly 5 feet in front of you, which I cannot. So
we're doing an experiment. Put up a number. Oh god, I actually can't see that.
Yes.
Is it 9?
Nope.
8. Oops.
So we have 2 legally blind morons.
Colossal morons.
But I would want perfect vision. I'd want it to not dilute over time. That's not a separate wish. I know that genies and stuff always get technical with stuff like that, but this is my world.
This is my world. My rules.
And then my last one would be a K-State natty.
Do you care sport or just a natty?
A revenue sport.
Okay.
Men's basketball or football.
Do a 3 all year.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take football, both basketballs, and then College World Series and baseball to start. And we can move into some non-revs, share the wealth.
Okay. All right, yeah, that's fair. This is not on the list, but what's your favorite color?
I have a three-way tie between blue, purple, and orange.
Mine is powdered blue.
Powder blue?
Powdered blue.
That's a good color.
Or cyan, which is very similar to powdered blue, but brighter.
I'm a powdered blue fan.
Powdered blue enjoyer.
Yeah. I always liked purple growing up because of K-State.
Yeah.
Orange, I just always liked. I don't know why. I had a shirt when I was like 5 that was like an orange Hawaiian shirt that I called my party shirt.
Aw.
I would always wear it to birthday parties.
Aw.
And then blue is just blue. Like, I have no reason for it. I just like blue.
Yeah.
It's a good color.
I agree. Next question. If you could pick one non-K-State college team to become a dynasty, who would it be and why?
Well, I gave you my answer earlier, and it was very specific. And because it was a team that would become a dynasty in only its own state, and then like outside of it would just be normal competition. I want Northern Alabama to become like a powerhouse, but only against in-state opponents. Like, I want them to like give a guaranteed L to Alabama and Auburn every single year. Mainly because I think it'd be really funny.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
And then they'd also would be South Alabama and Alabama State and UAB every single year. And then they could just play the rest of their games against other opponents, and they'd have a free 5-win advantage to try and make the college football playoff every year.
They never lose a game in Alabama, so every time they have a home game, they win it.
It's against in-state opponents.
Okay. Okay.
I'll specify with that.
Okay.
Like, to make it a little bit more realistic. Because then they'd literally have like 3 games a year they'd have to like try. So, yeah. But that'd be my pick.
Mine would be MU football, and I know that I just heard a lot of people groan after I said that. But keep in mind, I grew up an MU fan, and if it can't be K-State, I would have it be MU. Just because that would make me and my mother very happy.
I disagree with it, but I respect it.
Okay. And then the last question is pick 3 features that are must-haves for the new NCAA football game. We'll go back and forth. You can go first.
Okay. One thing that I would really like in the new NCAA football game would be a legitimate Road to Glory story that was also optional. So if I didn't want to play it, I could just play the games. But if I did want to do the story, I'd like it to actually be not bad, unlike the Madden story. And like start in high school, go through college, and you can export it to Madden if you want. I don't buy Madden anymore, so that wouldn't matter for me, but I think that should be a feature. Mm-hmm. And then I'd like it if you could do things like sign NIL deals and like live some stuff like in your like actual life and things like that. Mm-hmm. And like make it like a more of a character than just a player. But I also would like it if you can turn that ability off and at times just play the games. So
yeah. First thing for me would be team builder within the game, and you don't have to replace teams. You can add like 20.
I like the adding teams because
I don't want to say goodbye to Old Dominion.
Yeah, because they would be on the chopping block if this were to happen. Old Dominion, that
gone forever. Old Dominion.
Another feature is a transfer portal that actually functions. Because in the current iteration, which granted is still old, you would be lucky to ever see a transfer target. Like, I remember I did a South Alabama dynasty one year, and I got 2 corners, and I think those are the only transfers I've ever gotten. Other than that, I've never seen transfers in that game. So, like, a transfer portal that makes sense, I would really like.
And next up for me would be the ability to upgrade your stadium as you get more fans and also advance in conference. Also, bonus, whenever you move a conference, the logo changes because as it stands right now, I have a UTEP dynasty and we moved to the Big 12. We still have the Conference USA sticker.
Yeah.
It's sad.
No, yeah, I totally agree. That should be something. That should be in the game. I mean, that's such a small thing as well, right? Like, that should be standard.
Yeah.
My last one that I'll have is like an athletic director mode. where you like are in charge of like some of the financials of the football team, basically like owner mode. You could honestly even build this into coach mode if you wanted to, where if you want to like renovate your stadium, you have to like get donor money and stuff, and it like takes a couple years. You can change your stadium, build a new stadium, and like design it and stuff. Hire support staff and other coaches and things like that, just like to make it a bit more in depth with off the field stuff, because I think that's some of the most fun things about building like a franchise in Madden or a franchise in MLB The Show.
Yeah.
And I like some of that behind the scenes stuff that gets done, the team building aspect. So
yeah. Final thing for me would be customizable college football playoff, to where you can set it to be 4, 8, even 16 teams if you want. Honorable mention would be create a play for me, and the reason I know that's never going to happen is because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it'd be very hard. But that would be my runner-up as well. And again, the only reason it's a runner-up for me is just because of how realistic it is, which it isn't. But because there'd be so many moving parts, I feel like.
Yeah, and granted, they did have a creative play back in like the early 2000s, but like I feel like the easy solution is, oh well, people abuse it in online play. Okay, just ban creative plays from online.
Yeah, I think that's like the obvious answer for that. Like, so just make it to where you can do it like in dynasties and things like that. And like if you create like a broken play, then the AI should be able to use it as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's all fair. But I don't know, the idea of a creative play system is really fun, I think.
Oh, also, just fix ball trajectories, because the deep ball is impossible because they throw it to where the receiver is and not where they will be.
Yeah.
God, I don't hate passing in NCAA 14, but like I don't like passing in NCAA 14.
Yeah, it's rough. Every time I go back and play, it's just more obviously dated.
Yeah.
But even then, it's still a fun game, and I miss a lot of stuff about it. You know, you could argue it was the last good football game to come out.
Yeah, I mean, Madden 25 technically came out after, and it was okay.
I think NCAA was better.
NCAA was better, but Madden 25 is okay.
Yeah, it wasn't awful. But the last Madden game I actually played a lot of was like Madden 16 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a minute for me.
Good. Yeah, unless you have any questions that you wish to ask.
I have none.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats. Thank you so much for listening. Excuse me. Oh, damn it. The mic picked it up. One more question. Which one of us is going to be the first to drop an F-bomb accidentally?
It won't be me.
It's going to be me.
Yeah.
It's going to happen on episode like 130 or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it without realizing it.
Just like upload it and like don't tweet about it.
Yeah.
Just so nobody knows. It's a big secret.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats. If you want to follow the show, you can follow us at Aggieville Alleycats on Twitter. That's capital A, and capital C in cats. If you want to email us, we are AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdward00.
I am at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show in a financial sense, be sure to check out the Aggieville Alleycats merch store, where you have such designs such as Play Sandstorm Cowards, Doomtang Clan, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.